This week we are going to talk about four people and four amazing people, different backgrounds. They're two from army, but uh, have done different things. Okay, they are known for different things. One is both of them are legends in army, but in a different aspects. And then we have one freedom fighter, uh, whom you must be knowing. Okay, you must have heard about the person. And there is one person who is called the father of the industrial revolution in India. He brought this industry concept in India. So let's see who are these people. These are the four people we'll be talking about. Uh, any idea? Do you know anyone? Do you know anyone?
One looks like Lalaji.
Okay, one is like Lalaji. This person. Yes. Yeah, that is Lala Lajpat Rai. Yes. Okay. Great. Yeah. So four amazing people, and as I mentioned, they're different. They have done different things in different fields. So let's see. Now, if you are not able to hear me, if you have, okay, just let me know. Okay.
Many of our sessions are with freedom fighters.
All
Yeah,
of them. Fun
Um,
with heroes.
yeah, a lot of heroes are related to the freedom movement because okay, we are covering the heroes of last 200 years mostly. Okay, approximately. So in last 200 years, one of the major events that happened was the Indian freedom struggle. Okay.
British Raj.
Yes, yes, right. So from initial struggle of Rani Lakshmibai to Gandhiji and Sardar Patel. So these are all different forms of struggle, but these are all against the British. Okay, so we have people, we have a lot of people from that category. Okay, and there are different revolutionary type people like Bhagat Singh and others. So they all come under the freedom fighter or revolutionary category. And then we also cover scientists. Okay, so today we don't have any scientists, but we normally cover a lot of scientists. Then people from army and military background, basically the people who have done amazing things in basically India's military, especially the independence, post-independence history, okay, since 1947. Okay, so the Paramvir
Sorry, sir, I annotated by mistake.
oh, yeah, I didn't get you.
Sorry, sir, I annotated by mistake.
Okay, no issues, no issues. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, that kind of heroes we cover. From army. Then also there are other categories as well. We have some famous economists or educationists, people who have done amazing things in social work. So we cover all those type of people. And this is ever-growing list. Okay, this is not something limited. We also cover people who did exceptionally well in arts or some other fields. Okay. So this is a growing field, and this is not at all limited field. Okay, I am also adding in a lot of new names because I am also coming to know about those people. There are amazing, amazing stories across the nation. Okay, ours is a very big country. So from Assam to Gujarat and from Kashmir to Tamil Nadu, we have a lot of things happening. A lot of people who have made important contributions. So,
Abdul Kalam.
yes, yeah, amazing. So now here we have four people. So let's see their journeys. So the first one we have, okay, is Lala Lajpat Rai. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure yeah, you must have heard
He
his
died
name.
because of the lathi hits on him during the lathi charge when they were opposing the Simon Commission.
Yes, yes, yeah. So yeah. So that is a known aspect we know about it. But who was Lala Lajpat Rai? Who was Lalaji? So he was a very influential leader in the early 19th century in India. And he was from Punjab. He was born on 20th January 1865 in Dudhi Ke village in Punjab. And uh, he, again, at that time, it was quite common. So he also became a lawyer. He obtained the law degree from Lahore, okay, and practiced in Hisar and Lahore. So at that time, you remember that it was a unified India, right? So Punjab included both sides of Punjab. Okay? So it's a Lahore is basically the kind of a capital of Punjab that time. And he belonged to there, and he practiced law from there. Lala Lajpat Rai was a voracious leader, and he was deeply inspired by Italian revolutionary leader Mazzini. he took inspiration from the Italian Revolution that was happening that time in Europe. He was also follower of Dayanand Saraswati, who started the Arya Samaj. So he was conducting the Arya Samaj activities in Punjab. Then at one point he left his legal practice, which was doing well in Lahore, and jumped into the freedom struggle. He joined Congress. Now within Congress at that time there were multiple sections. This was the era of Congress before Gandhiji. Gandhiji came in 1916, but before Gandhiji, there were Gopal Krishna Gokhale, there was Dadabhai Naoroji and other people, right? So along with them, Lala Lajpat Rai was also one of the important leaders in Congress, and he was a member of the nationalist section. And you must have known about Lal Bal Pal Tripudi. Okay, so who was the Lal Bal Pal? Lal was a Lala Lajpat Rai. Pal was a Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Pal was the Bipin Chandra Pal. Lal Bal Pal. So they were like from different sections of India. Like Lala Lajpat Rai was from Punjab, Bal Gangadhar Tilak was from Pune, Maharashtra, and Bipin Chandra Pal was from Bengal. So they represented different parts of India, but they had a common vision of complete independence, Purna Swaraj. They demanded Purna Swaraj. So they were known for that at that time. Now, he was arrested multiple times and jailed and came out of that. In 1914, he started traveling. He went to Europe, he went to Britain, and then also went to USA in 1917 and told world about the British atrocities in India. As I mentioned last time as well, that outside India, many people were not aware of what was happening within India, how the British were ruthless or torturing the people here. So it was not known that time. There was no internet, there was no communication, or the access was limited. So Lalaji was one of the leaders who traveled and told them about this thing. He also founded Indian Home Rule League of America in New York in 1917. Okay. So if you remember, Bal Gangadhar Tilak started Home Rule League in India, and Lala Lajpat Rai started this similar league in US at that time. He returned to
What league?
Indian Home Rule League. Okay, so this I mentioned, right? Founded the Indian Home Rule League in USA in 1917. Yeah, this was one of the league. It's a kind of a society, to say, which would work for the India's interest. He returned to India in 1920 and presided over the Indian National Congress session in Kolkata. And at that time, there was a non-cooperation movement going on. Gandhiji has already come, that movement was going on. He participated in that. He was arrested between 1921 to 23. And then he was deported outside India. Now, that part comes where what Aditi was talking about. In 1928, there was a commission which was visiting India to discuss the constitutional reforms. Okay. And that commission was called the Simon Commission. It was headed by British named Simon. But it was opposed by Indian leaders. Why? Because the commission
There
was
was not a single Indian member on it.
yes, it was a commission was supposed to talk about India's different aspects of India, but it had all the British members. There were no Indian members. So all the leaders opposed, decided to oppose it. So Lalaji, that commission came in Lahore. So Lalaji was opposing that commission outside Lahore station. Okay, on October 30, 1928, that he was leading that operation, and the police there started lathi charging. Okay, that he was doing peaceful opposition, but police started lathi charging and they heavily beat Lalaji and others. So Lalaji was very old at that time anyway, so he could not sustain those blows, and he died after some time. Okay, and his death was ultimately revenged by Bhagat Singh and Chandrasekhar Azad. But
Avenged.
yeah, by them. But Lalaji managed to inspire a generation of people, okay, through his nationalism and patriotism. He was though old, but he inspired a lot of youth within the country, including the Bhagat Singh and others, and they started joining the India's freedom movement. So that is his contribution, major contribution to India's freedom struggle. So that's the story of Lala Lajpat Rai. The next we have is Field Marshal K.M. Cariappa. If you visit the camp area of Pune, you will find the Cariappa lane actually. There's a road named Cariappa. And do you know? Okay. So before we start the story, you do you know that we have something called Chief of Army? Yes. Okay. The person, there is a one person, okay, who is leading the army. Okay. And that every year, every few years, they retire and someone new is appointed. Okay, you might be aware of this thing.
Every which year?
They retire at a certain age, basically. There is no fixed timeline. Okay, so they retire at a particular age, then new person takes over. Okay, the new person is selected, and that's it. So some people become army chief for 2 years, some become 3 years. Okay, depending on when they right now. Uh, uh, yeah, Naramane, who is from Pune only, is a army chief. Now, so how is it related to Cariappa? So the Field Marshal K.M. Cariappa was the first Indian Army Chief of India. Okay. Before him, the Chief of Army were British. He was the first Indian to become the Chief of Army. Okay. So now, what is the story? So he was born on 28th January 1899 in Kul, which is in Karnataka. He was one of the first Indians selected for the batch of King's Commissioned Indian officers at Delhi Cadet College in Indore. And if you remember, this was the time when there
When
was
was this?
so, so this was when in 1922, around 1922. Okay, so so this was the British India time, right? So all the major officers of army that time, which was the British Indian Army, okay, were the British officers. Okay, the Indians were always at the lower level of the army. But Cariappa was one of the ones to be selected for that prestigious King's Commission batch, and he received a permanent commission in 1922. And he went to he was sent to Iraq, which is Mesopotamia at that time. And then he fought some wars. He was subsequently transferred to Rajput regiment upon his return to India. And he became the first Indian officer to undergo the course at the Staff College in Quetta in 1933. So he was leading in a lot of things. Okay, because at that time, not many Indians were given promotions or were at the higher positions in the army, but he managed to get those, okay, because he was exceptionally good. Okay. During World War II, now he was the first Indian to be given the command of a unit in 1942, and that's a very big thing because at that time in World War II, Indian Army participated under the British Empire. Okay, but the all the officers, okay, the leading the army were the British. But Cariappa was the first one to be first Indian to be given the unit in charge. He became the unit in charge in 1942, and he fought war in Iraq, okay, Syria, Iran, and Burma during this World War II. Now in 1947, okay, he became the first Indian to be selected to undergo a training course at Imperial Defense College in Camberley. He went to UK. He went under a special training course. Okay. And during the partition of India, when India finally was independent, it was divided into two parts. So there was the partition happened. It was okay. There was a lot of migration that happened, and the assets were division, right? Some parts came to India, some parts went to Pakistan. So he oversaw the division of army and assets, okay, between India and Pakistan. He became the Eastern Army Commander.
Even the army was divided between India and Pakistan.
Yes, yes, everything was divided actually, including libraries, uh, land, okay, and different uh, uh, soft skills and everything. Army, navy, everything was divided. Okay, so he was one of the person to oversee that division. Now, immediately after the partition, the war started with Pakistan. Right? Pakistan attacked Kashmir and they started. So Cariappa was the Eastern Army Commander and General Officer, Commanding Chief of the Western Command during the war with Pakistan. So he was in charge of that unit which was in Kashmir. So he led Indian forces successfully to capture Jozila, Dras, and Kargil. So he was in charge of the forces there in Kargil. Now, on 15th January 1949, so 2 years after the independence, okay, by then we were having only British, even though British officially left India, but the Indian Army was in charge, was British. So earlier we had someone called as Sir Francis, Sir Robert Lockhart was the initial in charge at the time of partition. He became the Indian Army Chief on 15th August 1947, and then on 1st January 1948, Sir Francis Butcher became the Indian Army Chief, and they were British. So after Butcher, Cariappa became the Indian Army Chief on 15th January 1949, and Cariappa was the first Indian to get that post. Okay. And after his retirement, he served in the army for as a chief for 3 years. He retired in 1953, and then he served as the India's High Commissioner to Australia and New Zealand. And he was given many awards. He was awarded Order of the Chief Commander of the Legion of Merit, which is one of the important prestigious award in USA that was given to him by American President Harry Truman. And government of India finally conferred Field Marshal 5-star rank on Cariappa in 1986. He was the second person to be
He was
conferred.
88 at that time.
Yes, yes. So he was the second person to be conferred Field Marshal. Yes, Sam Manekshaw was the first one. To be
Second
conferred.
Indian.
I didn't get you, Aditi.
No, means second Indian or second person.
Second
later on.
person. Field Marshal is the highest ranking in the Indian Army. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. And only 2 people have that okay position right now till date. Okay. One is a Cariappa and one is a Sam Manekshaw.
then
Sam Manekshaw. So we'll come to the Sam Manekshaw story. Manekshaw was the one who won us the war against Pakistan in 1971. Okay. So these 2 people have the ranking of Field Marshal. Now, Field Marshal Cariappa became the Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army, okay, on January 15th, 1949. And that is why Indian Army celebrates Army Day on January 15th every year. Every year on January 15th, Army Day is celebrated.
oh,
Okay, and because in the memory
because
of,
he was conferred field marshal
no,
on that day.
No. Because he became the first Indian chief of army on that day. Okay. On, on January 15th, 1949, Cariappa became the commander-in-chief of Indian Army. Okay. And that is why since then, this day has been celebrated as the Army Day. Okay. So that's the story of Field Marshal Cariappa. And as I mentioned, whenever you go to campsite, you look out for this road actually. And there are actually different things named after him. But yeah, Cariappa road is a very famous one.
There's
Now-
a road.
Yes, road named after him in Pune actually. Yeah. So now we have a story of Jamshedji Tata. And yeah, who was Jamshedji Tata? He is the most famous Indian businessman or industrialist. Okay, he is the one who started the culture of entrepreneurship in India, in modern India. So he was born on 3rd March 1839 in Navsari of Gujarat. Okay. He was a Parsi, and most of the Parsi belonged to the Navsari. So he was born there, and then he came to Mumbai. His father was working there. So he enrolled at the Elphinstone College in Mumbai and completed his education as a Green Scholar. Green Scholar is nothing but similar to bachelor's degree, what we have now. And he started working with his father at an early age. And Jamshedji Tata worked with his father until the age of 29, after which he started his own trading company. And initially, he got some experience, okay, doing the business, how the business is work. Then he started his own company, trading company. Then he started buying mills and converting them into profitable. So he converted a bank.
What did he buy?
He would buy a bankrupt or the mills, okay, factories which are not working, okay, and then he would convert them into a cotton mill. So he converted. There was a one mill which was shut down in Mumbai. He bought that. It was an oil mill. He converted that oil mill into cotton mill, okay, where the cotton is produced. Okay, cotton cloth is produced, and renamed it as the Alexandra Mill. and he converted that into profitable. So that he did actually. He did not only once. He did it multiple times. Then in 1874, he floated the Central India Spinning, Weaving and Manufacturing Company in Nagpur. He called it a Swadeshi mill. Okay, and while most of the at that time the connectivity was not so good. Okay? So most of the businesses were focused around the major cities like Mumbai, Surat, or Delhi, and those kind. But he started this company in Nagpur because Nagpur was cheap, and it was also close to a river.
Nagpur was
Cheap. Okay, it was very cheap compared to Mumbai. Okay, and it was abundant in resources. It has a lot of water availability. Land was available cheaply. So he started his mill in Nagpur, and it became that mill is called Express Mill, and that became very successful. Okay, and the cotton they produced was used in India and also exported to countries of Japan, Korea, China, and several other parts of Middle East. So he became a global uh, dealer in cotton. He especially on the Asian side, he would supply cotton to a lot of Asian countries. And then he was actually the first one to start worker welfare initiatives, which were completely new in India. At that time, like the people who were working in mills or hear me out. Worker welfare initiatives, basically when people work in companies, okay, or factories, okay, there are certain benefits again. At that time in India, that concept was not there. Okay, they were not given like the leaves were also very restricted. They were not given additional benefits, okay, for their families and those kind of things. So he started those things in India. He was the first businessman to do those kind of things. Okay, so he brought that culture in India, which was there in Europe. So he observed that and ultimately brought those things to India. He improved them, okay, the condition. So then after establishing himself as a successful entrepreneur, he traveled to Europe. He also went to America. Okay, he at the time the Europe was going through industrial revolution. A lot of new technologies were coming up, so he wanted to see them. So he went there. He went to Germany. He went to Britain. Then went to America. He saw that firsthand and saw how these things work because he wanted to bring those things to India ultimately. So he finally managed to bring that. He realized that there will be a lot of demand for the steel. And at that time, there was hardly any steel produced in India. Most of the steel was supplied by European countries. So he wanted to start a steel company in India, steel manufacturing. Steel manufacturing is not easy, basically. You get the iron ore through mines. Then you have to process that. You have to have a factory to cleanse it and convert that into steel. So he searched for that location. Ultimately, he found the location in the present day Jharkhand, which was the Bihar land. At a one small village, he found that, and he set out to build India's first iron and steel plant at the Saki village, okay, which is present day Jharkhand. He started that thing. Okay, he realized that now this is where the material is available, so he started factory there itself. Then ultimately the town became a big town. Okay, uh, but this didn't happen during his lifetime. After his death in 1912, that project finally got completed, and the project is Tata Steel. You might have heard about Tata Steel. Okay, so Tata Steel was his
Tata
brainchild.
Power and Taj Mahal Hotel and IISC.
Yeah, I'll come to that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So the Tata Steel was one of his brainchild. So Jamshedji Tata is known as the father of Indian industry, and he is the one who started the famous Tata Group, which is right now there. Right, Tata Group does a lot of things right now. There are Tata Motors, there is a Tata Chemicals, there is Tata Steel, there is TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, and a lot of in IT business, in other businesses, it is there. But the founder of this Tata Group is Jamshedji Tata. Okay, he started this group. Okay, he started with the cotton mills. Then he had a vision to have a steel plant. So he worked in creating a Tata Steel plant in village in Jharkhand, which is now known as a Jamshedpur. The Jamshedpur town is named after Jamshedji Tata. Okay, because he brought that Tata Steel there. So Jamshedpur is a very famous now a famous town actually of Jharkhand. So he started.
It's named after him.
Yes, it is named after Jamshedji Tata. Okay. He then, okay, there is an interesting story that he met a Swami Vivekanand during one of his journeys while he was going to Europe. Swamiji also going to Europe, US that time, and on ship they met. And from the vision of Swamiji, Jamshedji Tata got inspiration. He worked on the world-class institute for the higher studies. Okay, he saw that for the higher studies, most of the Indian students had to go to Europe. Okay, have to go to England. So he wanted to start similar institute in India, and that's how the Indian Institute of Science became a reality in Bangalore. And till today, it is one of the India's topmost college, topmost institute.
That is IISc.
Yes, that is IISc, Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. And who
And
founded it?
Tata Power and Taj Mahal Hotel.
We'll come to that. I will come to that. Okay, we'll go through one by one. Okay, and so these are all his visions basically. So he was not only an industrialist; he also wanted to do something better for the India. So this he wanted to okay, establish a world-class university. So he started. Okay, he worked on the IISc. Then he wanted to start the steel production in India. So Tata Steel became a reality. Then he wanted to generate power near Mumbai to supply Mumbai. Mumbai was growing that time, and it needed a lot of
Electricity.
yeah, a lot of electricity. So he started on a power plant near what we can say Khandala. Okay, and that became ultimately became a Tata Power, which is known right now. So that is his vision, which okay, started. And the one thing which is most famously known is the Taj Mahal Hotel. So there is a famous story that uh, he he visited a some top class hotel. Okay, but at that time Indians were not treated very well, so he was thrown out. He was told that Indians are not allowed here. Okay, so he said that I will start a hotel which is the best anywhere in the world. Okay, so that's how he started the finest hotel in the name of Taj Mahal Hotel. Unfortunately, this started after he died. Okay, but the foundation was laid by Jamshedji Tata, which is still there in Mumbai. So this is the story of Jamshedji Tata. He did amazing things. Okay, in different aspects of India, he changed the definition of entrepreneurship in India and helped the nation believe in itself. At that time, most of the Indians were not doing entrepreneurship. They were mainly doing jobs or just becoming ICS officer or lawyers. So he was the one who brought the entrepreneurship culture in the modern India. So these are the different things. Okay, the first one is the Taj Mahal Hotel, the famous Taj Mahal Hotel. Okay,
Oh, big.
okay, yeah. The
So big.
that bottom one is the IISc, the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore. The statue here is the Jamshedji Tata. That's the statue of
That's what
Jamshedji
I
Tata.
wanted to ask.
And this is the town of Jamshedpur. Okay, the Tata where the Tata Steel started. The town ultimately named after his death. The Sakshi village was named after Jamshedji Tata. And it is a very well planned town now. It is managed by Tata. So that's the story of Jamshedji Tata. Okay, we'll quickly finish. Another last story we have is a Naib Subedar Sanjay Kumar. So who is he? So Sanjay Kumar was born on 3rd March 1976 at the Kalol village of Bilaspur district in Himachal Pradesh. And after his schooling, he was enrolled in the 13th Battalion of Jammu and Kashmir Rifles, which is JK Ran. Now, before becoming an army officer, he actually worked as a taxi driver in New Delhi, okay, while he was struggling to join the army. Now, his greatest moment came in during the Kargil War of 1999. So, in 1999, we had a Kargil war with Pakistan, and Pakistan had
He's still
captured.
alive?
Yes, he's still alive. He's one of the Paramveer Chakra awardees who is still alive. There are only 3.
He's my dad's age then.
Yes. So his story is related to point 4875. Okay, and 4875 is also a story of the Captain Vikram Batra. Someday we'll talk about him. But and now point 4875, which is this point, you see, which is near to the Tiger Hill. And this point is very important. This was captured by Pakistan that time. Why it is important? Because from this peak, you can see the national highway that connected Srinagar. So they can directly attack the national highway and stop the supplies. Okay, so basically they can isolate Srinagar from the rest of India. So that is why it is important to recapture this point, the peak 4875, and that task was given to multiple companies. And Sanjay Kumar was rifleman that time. He was in charge of one of the companies. So they launched the operation on the night of 4th July 1999, and climbing a steep hill during the dark time, dark night. He was 23 years old that time, and he was leading a scout along with the Majinder Singh. Now, what happened there when they were just 150 meters away from one
And
of
he
the
recently celebrated his
yeah, they were just 150 meters away from the enemy position, which is a bunker. There were two machine guns heavily firing from that position, and they were stopping the progress of Indian Army. Sanjay Kumar was already injured by then. He had a bandages in both his hands, but despite that, he charged towards the enemy bunker and threw grenades in them, and then killed the three Pakistani soldiers who were guarding that bunker. After clearing one bunker, he went to another bunker. He did the same there in a hand-to-hand combat. He captured the bunker, and because of this, Indian Army was able to go ahead, okay, make progress, and finally able to capture the peak 475. And he was grievously injured. He was bleeding, but he didn't. He refused to be evacuated from there till the operation was complete. And because of this superhuman act of Sanjay Kumar, he was given Paramveer, India's highest military honor, which is the Paramveer Chakra. He is one of the only three Paramveer Chakra awardees who are still alive. Okay, after this, he is still an active in Indian Army. He is now in charge of it. He is a training instructor in Dehradun. He is now giving training to other cadets. And so that's the story of Sanjay Kumar.
and when did he clear those bunkers? Which day?
It was on the night of 4th July 1999. Okay, so on the 4th, 5th July, this operation was carried out in 1999. Okay. That's the story of Sanjay Kumar. And you see, this is the point, and this is after they captured the point. Okay, so this photo is taken after they captured this point. So this is the story of Sanjay Kumar. So we saw 4 amazing stories. So now I hope you know these people.
Where was he in that picture?
I am not very sure because he was injured that time, so he might have been evacuated. So this is after the pic was taken, and the photographers actually came much later, right? So after during operation, you don't have photographers, right? So this was after everything was calm, everything was cleared out, then only the photo was taken. So at that time, probably he was not there. I'm not able to see him in this picture. Okay. So yeah. So he must have been taken to the hospital by then. So this is we saw the story of Sanjay Kumar. Then we saw the story of Jamshedji Tata. Okay. So whenever you see the Tata product, Tata car, I think remember that it was started by
Ratan Tata.
no, the Ratan Tata is the present chief, but it was started by, it was not even present chief. Present chief is who is the present chief? Yeah, he's one else. But the Tata group was started by Jamshedji Tata. He's the one who started the Tata group. Okay. Then we have a story. We saw the story of Lala Lajpat Rai, and then Field Marshal Cariappa, who was the first Indian Army chief. Okay.
This is Naib Subedar.
Yes.
So Tata is one of the richest beings in the world, right?
No.
Not in the world, sorry, in the India.
Not really, actually. Yes. The Tatas are normally not that way. Even that time, he was not that rich. Normally, they do a lot of philanthropy. And the richness of a businessman is very different because they own the company shares. So the valuation depends on the value of the company. But even in current case, most of the Tata owners are not, okay, even in top 10, you will not find it in the top 10 because that. Okay,
In India.
Yeah, even in India, they are not in top 5 or top 10 actually. So yeah.
But they are said to be one of the richest, not in 10 or 5 maybe.
Yeah, Tata Group is rich. Tata Group is very huge, but that doesn't mean that the individuals in charge of that are rich. Okay, the Tata Group is one of the oldest industrial group in India, right? So this started like a long back. It has been more than like close to 200 years now. It has been long. It does a lot of things.
100 years.
Yeah, it's a guy, almost 150 years. So that's how old this Tata Group is. Yes. So quiz I'll share later on. I was working on that and then I didn't get much time. So I'll share the link on the about the quiz. Okay, so you can do it offline. It's a very simple thing. Anyway, we are running out of time.
Uncle, what time? Means when will you share? Today, evening,
Today,
or morning?
today only in
No,
probably
morning or evening, like that I'm asking.
in the morning itself. Okay, you can do it anytime. Okay, normally these are offline quizzes, right? So you just okay. So I'll share the link of the quiz on the WhatsApp group. You can take it from there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
thank you.
can you please read the name of all of them?
Yes. The first one is the Sanjay Kumar, Naib Subedar Sanjay Kumar. Okay, he was a rifleman that time when he got the Paramvir Chakra. And then we have Jamshedji Tata. Okay, so this is Jamshedji Tata. Then we have Lala Lajpat Rai, who was a freedom fighter. And we have Field Marshal Cariappa, M. Cariappa. Okay, so these are the four names.
That's why he has so many medals and everything on his uniform.
Yes. And normally, yeah, if you find at the top position in the army or military, you find people because only then you will be promoted, right? In the army, you don't get promoted unless you do some exceptional things. Right? So,
They have to do something great except their duties, everyday duties.
Yes, definitely. Because there are so many people in India. I mean, not everyone becomes the army chief, right? So, so there's a lot. Yeah, you have to be.
Almost